This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Only Friends podcast. Today is the shame edition. We shame Christian for not coming.
Shame.
Shame.
Yeah.
Shame. 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 Shame.
Also,
shame.
he's back in Las Vegas, correct?
Yeah, that's why we shame him.
So everybody tweet at Chin and say, what the fuck, you abandoned us.
Yeah, we all wore our shirts today. Shout out to the man, the myth, the legend that printed these up for us. I am the old-timey reg. The child of the sim here to my immediate right.
Yeah, I have the body of an old-timey reg right now, but we'll get there.
I have to tell you, I understand this is the first time you've ever been physically active and the first time you've ever been hurt, but you are such a little bitch.
You are, baby.
No, it just... Oh, when you sprain your wrist...
Oh, no. I did it.
You said it.
What?
I said the B word.
You did.
Baby?
No, I called him a little bitch.
Oh.
I was gonna...
Canceled.
I did it
you're
again.
out.
They're allowed to say it to guys, though.
Yeah, look, bro, you hurt your hand because you jumped over a fence.
You should have
It's
seen
gonna
my
be
ankle
okay.
when I sprained it in tennis. Slapped a fucking compression sock on that thing and kept going.
That's what I said.
It blew to like 4 times the size my ankle should be.
Yeah, you know why you keep going? Because you can't do any more damage. It's already done.
Well, I didn't want to have to sit out.
Right.
So.
You wrap it. Like, we get it. You're sore.
Did I go to the gym yesterday?
Yeah. Did you
Okay,
complain
then.
about it the whole time?
Did I do my workout? Yes. Don't worry about it. I didn't fucking complain. I was just saying what he literally told me.
I don't want to hear about this stiff old man back.
literally
I know.
He said, do what you can and can't do. So I was telling him what I could and could not do.
What could you not do?
I couldn't. The little ab wheel stuff was hard, but I did it. Couldn't do push-ups though. Too much wrist.
Yeah, definitely too much risk on that.
Okay,
then. I'm agreeing with you.
So I said, I can't do push-ups, and now I'm crying.
No, it's because of
no.
the keep referencing you as an old man.
I'm the old.
I only did it once.
Yeah, you did it 5 times in pre-production.
Yeah.
I did it. I did it once here. That's the fucking joke, man.
This back of mine.
You're ruining the joke. It's over.
Injured.
I'm not old. Fuck this guy. This guy's an old piece of shit. Dumb, old, bald, sad. That's the joke, though. I said that 5 times in pre-production, you know?
Oh, man.
Old,
Well, that's a
bald,
funny
sad.
joke. You can keep repeating it.
That's not a dad joke. That's a rad joke.
It's not a dad joke. It's a bad joke because I don't mean it. I love you, Matt.
Conrad has his tap shirt on, but you can't see because he's watching porn, I
Yeah,
assume.
what are you doing out there?
I can only assume he's watching
Don't
porn.
tell anybody about my porn addiction.
Well, I mean, Naya knows.
Did someone say poker?
Someone say.
Speaking of addiction, did anybody see that Browns tailgate this past weekend?
I did not.
No, you guys didn't see this?
No, I
Was it a
don't
fight?
think.
Oh,
what has happened?
This is hilarious.
okay. So
Oh
let's.
my god, is that a boner?
Yes, that's a boner.
For real? That thing's long.
Well, I mean, it's a mannequin, Melissa. Put it.
Oh.
Keep,
not a
keep
real
it in your
person.
pants. Let's go through and dissect this image a little bit. So, Guapo, if you want to pull that back up, what you'll see here is we have a mannequin on a massage table, a sign that says "Happy endings are not illegal," in reference to Deshaun Watson and his 27 out-of-court settled cases, as he's serving his 11-game
Why do
suspension.
they have tips for the mannequin? What?
Well, I don't know that that's that important, but if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to find a nice little Easter egg there. And what you're going to see...
Oh, I know that guy.
What you're going to see is the giant dong black man meme, where he seems to be repping the dog pound. He's on a Cleveland Brown flag. R.I.P. to my man out there. These people should be absolutely ended. The Browns should not be in the NFL anymore.
Right.
They should just eliminate them as a franchise. The entire city is a goddamn embarrassment. I think today is the day that we all come together and we finally come to an agreement that Cleveland should be no more.
Isn't it part of Pittsburgh's in Ohio too? So that's
No.
like your neighboring city.
Okay,
What
so
are you dumb?
can we get Melissa off the podcast now? Go wherever Chin is.
It's
Go
your
with him.
neighboring
The
city.
only thing I know, it's all in the
How are you
Midwest.
gonna be mean to your
That's all
neighbor
I know.
like that?
Okay.
Wow.
Where's the Mike McDonald "Are you dumb" comment? We should just have that queued up at all times.
We
Like,
should
"Are
also
you
get the
dumb?"
we should get the geography of America. Get that map back.
Yeah, apparently.
Pittsburgh, Ohio. We already settled this. The soda pop line is what defines the Midwest.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
No. It's very.
Just not.
Anyone on the East Coast doesn't say pop.
Yeah, nobody that has
What would you call Baltimore?
Balmore.
Not what I was asking.
the streets,
It's like,
Region-wise, what would you call Baltimore?
the wire.
The Wire.
You're just saying words.
It's like the water area of the coast.
I'm sorry, the what?
You know, it's like water.
what?
Maryland.
Yes.
Maryland's not east. It's not like.
It's getting south. It's starting to get the south.
It's
That's
getting.
just it.
They're doing crabbing and so.
Can we please pull up the map of America?
It's starting to go south. And when we talk about the East Coast, it's the Northeast.
Northeast.
Like, it's the real, like, you know, New York, New Jersey.
Just
that
look-
piece of shit fucking landfill up top of wherever you, Boston or
Okay,
whatever.
first
the
of
fuck
all,
they call it.
Yeah.
first of all,
Facts.
Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania both northeast.
Yeah, but Pennsylvania's so wide.
No, it's not.
And it's
Not that
far
wide.
into Ohio, essentially.
We have a graphic here for you. of
What
pop
are you
versus
talking
soda.
about?
Midwest.
And Philly's in Jersey, I guess. By that,
Pretty much, yeah.
By that,
I mean, it's
logic.
it's like less than an hour.
What, Guapo? Can you tell me what that map is kind of showing here?
Let's see here.
Soda pop line.
I would assume the yellow is pop.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to know what the fuck.
It looks as though pop
So
greatly
it looks like,
outweighs.
yellow is pop.
It doesn't
Anything
matter
doesn't
what.
outweigh,
It doesn't
it's
matter
just-
what outweighs what.
She's
just
right.
cornfields.
She's right
Yeah.
in the sense that
You want to
the
know what's
majority
insane?
of
Is
the
that
Midwest says pop and Pittsburgh says pop, but that doesn't
sure,
mean that
but like,
Pittsburgh is.
Seattle
Midwest.
also says pop. Like, what are we talking
You
about
guys
here?
can take
Alaska
that.
says pop.
You can take
Yeah.
Seattle, okay?
Okay, what's
The only thing that matters at this map is that New York and California call it soda.
what should be really
So the
concerning?
rest of the world,
What should be really concerning to your argument is that more of the United States seems to call it Coke than soda.
Well, it's not a population.
Everywhere in the
dens-
South
it's
just calls it Coke. Calls
geographical
all pop Coke.
space.
Do they? What? Because like from Florida, it would just be soda.
I can't believe we're having this argument again.
Again, I know we're back on
It's
it.
remarkable.
It's so easy to
Just-
trigger you.
Just
into it.
accept that it's pop and
it's
let's move.
not.
I mean, no. Like, that's
speaking of
unreasonable.
triggered, speaking of triggered, as if I wasn't already by watching a mannequin with a 9-inch heart on, the Venetian today has the balls. The balls.
Fucking gall.
These guys have the balls to put out their October guaranteed schedule of 1.8 million.
Happy Halloween.
Are they
I
going to
mean-
cancel it or?
I assume so.
Yeah.
How
I
many
assume
events
that-
are you playing?
No, look. At some point, you graduate past the Venetian. That's the whole.
I'll be there for all of them.
When I go to Venetian, I feel like I'm rattling around in one of those claw machines. I leave with a migraine every time.
What I was trying to explain yesterday, and I actually think it's quite accurate, is that if we view the poker landscape as being a linear stepping stone, where when you're at this stage of your career, you play X amount or like X game or whatever.
Yep.
Venetian is that bottom tier. Like when you're entering the
I think you could
MTTs,
skip it.
if you're rich,
That's your stomping ground. You got to stomp at the Venetian.
yeah,
You got to
like,
stomp.
Oh, if you're doing MTTs, yeah.
if you're an MTT player
MTTs,
and
yeah.
you're entry level MTT player, like that's your spot.
Yeah.
You're there
The first
6 to
MTT I
7
ever
times.
played was at the Venetian.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah, you're there 6 to 8 times a year, grinding it out, playing a $400 rake fest. Like you just have to,
I mean, they just run them daily, kind of.
right?
They have a pretty good schedule.
Yeah.
they,
They do,
allow
yeah.
for.
But like the
stage.
second that you have some self-respect and a little bit of pocket change, you get the fuck out of that place and you never come back.
No,
Yeah.
just when another event is running somewhere else.
No.
'Cause
No.
why not? You don't miss events. Just
Yeah,
because
Yeah,
it's Venetian.
people are grinding the live MTTs. They're they're grinding.
Yeah,
but
no one's just
like,
missing events because it's the Venetian. Like, this is not going to happen. Doesn't matter if
you're not hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth. Eventually, you just graduate beyond, like, the same way you don't go to the Orleans. Like, you just graduate beyond it. Nobody needs to play a $400 50K guarantee.
Right. When you have 500K, a tournament of 400 deep stack at the Venetian doesn't seem as good.
When you have 50K, a $400 deep stack at the Venetian doesn't seem as good.
I was trying to prove your point.
Yeah.
Where do you play then when you have a 50K bankroll?
You play anywhere else. Like, you travel to the MSPTs, you travel to the WSOP circuits, you travel.
Expensive.
Yeah,
it is.
I think a 50K roll is like you could just travel over the country.
That's because you're thinking about it as a 40-year-old man who would be tortoising his way through.
This is true.
But if you're 23 and you have $50,000, you go coast to coast and you avoid the Venetian like a fucking plague.
Unless they have an MSPT, and then you go play because it's not a Venetian, it's an MSPT.
Well, it depends if it's guaranteed or not.
Yeah, it depends if you are.
Does it really matter if it's guaranteed or not?
No, not at all.
The other thing is that every time I've been there, I feel like I am bothering the floor by
100%.
existing in their vicinity.
That was the point I was mostly bringing up yesterday. Is I've never felt treated worse.
It's like I'm literally like a bane to their existence.
It was the exact opposite too. Before I don't remember what happened in 2015, but they made a conscious effort in 2015 to like basically just destroy the poker room. And I only know this specific to that time frame because I was looking back at my DMs with Tommy, and the last time we had spoken was in 2015. They were closing all of the boxes in the poker room, and that was like my spot. I played the Venetian almost exclusively from 2008 to like 2012 or so. And like 2011, 2012, I started like splitting time between there and the Bellagio because Bellagio was regularly 1020 where Venetian was kind of capped at 510. But they had uncapped 510 from 2008 to 2011 that was the best in the city, and it wasn't even remotely close. And we were all loyal there. They had a salon where they would sometimes run high stakes games. That was the first time I ever played with Bob Bright, where he just put me in a fucking blender for basically my entire bankroll, and I picked him off. Like, he literally put me all in for my bankroll on the river, and I was just like, you know what, man?
The fact that you're playing with your bankroll so many of these stories, so many of these stories is just you with your entire
always
bankroll.
Case money on the table.
It's so stressful.
What happened?
This was his entire 20s. Yeah, literally his entire 20s.
What happened is I went to the Venetian to play my normal 510 game. Bob Bright showed up. Billy DJAF was there. Muhaha was there. We had the whole cast of characters. They get 10, 20, 40 rolling in the salon. I have 25K. I sit with 20.
Okay.
You know, you leave yourself an out.
You got to top up with 5K or rebuy for 5K.
You leave yourself an out. You know, I want to be able to play a little 2-5 if shit goes wrong.
Okay.
And by 2-5,
that's very responsible of you.
Yeah, smart. Yeah. And by play 2-5, I mean sit with one 5K buy-in at 510 if things go wrong. But sit with the 20K, and somehow we get to a situation where I think I had trip kings on a board where the flush hit the river, and Bob had just like check called flop and then just started leading into me whenever I turned the trips, and then he just like rips it on the river, and I tanked so long that the game broke.
You have a diamond?
we were shorthanded. I don't remember. I think I had king queen off with one of the blockers, but it was 2009.
Blockers weren't a thing.
Yeah, it didn't really
blockers
make a difference.
Aren't real.
I was just looking. I tanked so long. We were already shorthanded. We were like down to 4 or 5, and I knew that if I won this pot, I wanted to leave anyway because I just doubled my net worth. So I'm just like, I'm waiting this out, man. I need to fucking know if this guy is like really coming after me. And I'm like staring at him and I'm talking to him. And if you've ever played with Bob, nobody on earth gives less of a fuck.
Gives zero fucks
about the outcome of a hand. Like, he's not nervous. There's nothing going on, but he gave me a little bit of a vibe, like a little non-communication of like, I'm going to make you rich, kid.
A little small smile.
And after like 13 and a half minutes, Muhaha wandered back to the table, couldn't believe I was still putting this poor man into the ringer, and just like made a comment. I was like, I call. And he goes,
Nice.
Good call. Just like rips over nothing. I'm like,
yeah, first time I played with Bob Wright was actually like last month, and it was like 2-5 at fucking
South Point.
Right?
He told me about it.
Yo,
Bub's making the South Point rounds.
Yo, it was fucking hilarious. He gets like 9s in against 10s all in pre, right? And he spikes a 9 at the river. And this guy loses it. Like he feels it. And you just see Bob looking into this fucking guy's soul. Just like, yep, I fucked you. I was dying.
Yeah. He told me, he obviously didn't remember that hand. Nor does he remember the hand from the Venetian because, again, he doesn't care.
Right.
But we were playing No Gamble, No Future, which, by the way, airs tonight. Little shout out, little plug for Poker Go. But we were playing the lineup there, and he had mentioned like he ran into one of my roommates. I go, yeah, I heard you were playing 2-5 at the South Point with him. He goes, yeah, I don't care what the stakes are. Like, I'm just there to cause pain. I go, yeah, I heard you 2-outed somebody. He goes, did I?
He's on
so fucking great.
He's on the opposite side of the journey, man.
He I wish I would have had this queued up. I didn't realize we were going to get into a Bob Wright discussion, but he won a 300K pot the other day, straight flushing versus the nut flush in 200-400 versus Shane Kerr. Wow. That made its rounds. And then like the same day.
It was the next day.
Or the next day, Feldman had straight flush over straight flush.
So sick.
In a slightly smaller game for like a 40K pot or a 50K
Both holding
pot.
2 cards?
Yeah, he had 8-7 of hearts versus King Queen of Hearts.
Oh my God.
Or sorry, 7-6 of hearts versus.
You were right. It was 7-8 of hearts against King Queen.
Yeah. 9-10 Jack. You're right. Yeah. So yeah, they're just over there dealing out the fucking coolers.
It's so sick. How does that happen?
Is there a bad beat jackpot in there?
No. That's the bad beat. There's no bad beat jackpot.
Fake bad beat jackpot.
Higher stakes games, so that's where all the action is.
Or fucking Oscar. Talk about bad beat jackpots. We were playing at Parks one time, and it was like literally 2 weeks before the fucking bad beat jackpot got put in place. He gets fucking quads versus quads and loses. And it was just like literally a week and a half or something like that. They put a fucking 300K bad beat jackpot in play.
That's so brutal.
Everyone has those beats. Speaking of wow, that's a terrible segue. Where am I going with this? We can't get into scamming people as speaking with beats. That would just be insane.
I actually did my homework this time. Sorry, guys.
I appreciate you, Landon.
Fuck me.
Do the ad read, Berkey. Ad read.
We only have one sponsor. You have one job. Read the ad. Don't forget.
Today's podcast will be brought to you by BetMGM, and we'll be doing an ASMR ad read, apparently.
Yes.
Oh, man. Do you have what it takes to become a BetMGM poker champion? Starting September 15th, players in New Jersey, Michigan, and Pennsylvania will battle for state-by-state supremacy in the BetMGM Poker Online Championship. Over $2 million is guaranteed throughout the series. Visit BetMGM.com for the full series schedule and take your seat today. Big shout out to BetMGM for sponsoring the pod this week. We really appreciate you guys. If you were in one of those 3 states and you're interested in firing up a little bit of tournament action, they do have $2 million in guarantees across all sites. There's a daily 100K guarantee phase 1 that begins at 8 p.m. You guys can all check that out.
God, you're so good at reading ads.
I know.
I mean, we should have a lot more of them, don't you think?
You would think, man.
Like, don't you want this man to be just reading your ads? Just see how good that was? Man, we're not going to have Conrad do it or me.
We should have Conrad do it one day. That'd be funny.
If
we'll read it together, Conrad.
Yeah. You guys can take turns. And honestly, the camera should just stay fixated on both of you during that.
I actually have a great idea. Conrad does the spelling for it, and Brian just reads it as slow as possible. Yeah.
That'd be incredible.
I'm trying to decipher what this word is.
Yeah.
We also have a new episode of Poker Out Loud out. I kind of mentioned this yesterday. We put out a brief graphic of a hand that was played between Michael Acevedo and K-Rab. We're going to give you the highlights of that hand right now. If you're interested in checking out the entire episode or the previous 7 seasons, you can head over to solveforwhy.io, sign up for a 2-week free trial.
It's actually kind of interesting because my hand could consider fast playing or it could consider flatting. I think I'm usually behind if all the money goes in.
I think his range is going to contain quite a bit of ace-X, so I'm going to start with a small bet.
Michael's doing a good job here of leaving money behind, making it harder for some of my marginal hands.
Very bad river card for me. I was gonna just go all in pretty much any river.
I think the only automatic call he's going to have is pocket kings, whereas pocket aces is somewhat likely to trap me on the turn.
I'm getting a very good price, of course, to call here.
All right, so if you guys are interested in catching that whole episode, I got to tell you, all the hands are exactly like that. They're all next level, big brain, trying to figure out what the hell is going on when third pot goes in on the river in a 4-bet spot, tight range versus tight range. If you guys want to see more of that, hear the full analysis, you can head over to solve4y.io. Again, sign up for a 2-week free trial, or just hit hashtag S4Y in the chat and you'll get the link there. Moving into today's bigger story. Let me find my notes. Where are they at? There we go. So we're going to take this in kind of two parts. First, let's just outline what's been going on before we actually talk about the two different lenses through which we're going to see this. But over in the Twitch streets, there was a streamer who goes by the name of Sliker. And apparently for the last, correct me if I'm wrong,
2 years.
2 years? Yeah. He's taken somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000 off of his community, off of other streamers in the industry, and basically anybody that he could get to trust him with some amount of money. And it appears as though he's degened all of this money off. So I'm not familiar with Sliker. Is he a gamer or is he a slot streamer? Or is he both?
I think he's a variety streamer.
Okay, so he kind of does a little bit of everything from esports to, slot streaming, whatever.
Just chatting.
Right. And it seems as though he has a pretty big platform, as best I can tell.
Yeah, like the way other streamers were talking about him, he's sort of not like S tier, but
Sure.
he's like, he's well known enough to go by Sliker, not just like X streamer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like he'll play games, plays Counter-Strike, does a bunch of stuff in the gaming side of streaming.
So before I break this down a little bit further, what do you think somebody like that, just on sheer Twitch revenue alone, earns year over year? If you had to
It depends what his viewership. I don't know how many like concurrent viewers he usually gets, but I don't know, maybe from subs and like they do subathons and from bits and everything, like could be between like 60 and 100K.
Okay. So it's not like as if he's not poor.
Right.
He's not
And he can get sponsorships and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so here it looks like Guapo's found a little bit of
Average viewers 926. So maybe around like 60.
Yeah, so he's probably much more on the low end. He's
Yeah.
obviously not like a major streamer. He's not like XQC or anybody like that.
He lost 3,000 followers.
Oh, he should not have a platform anymore, but we'll get into that momentarily. So it seems like he ran this like long con where he was leaning heavily on his community to basically fund his addiction. And there were some kind of sad stories that came out of this, one of which was there was a woman who was going through chemo treatment that he, I guess, had like taken $2,500 from.
Mm-hmm.
The videos and stuff were like pretty long, but if you're interested in getting more detail on this, because it's very difficult for us to like really lay the entire scope, there's a lot of excellent people in that space, in the streaming space, that have done like full deep dives on this.
One guy did like a 2-hour long stream where he's going through every single message. And
Yeah, so it's kind of like when cheating occurs here, right? Like if you watch Barstool Sports, they're going to mention the Postle thing, or they're going to mention the Ali and Jake stuff, but like they're not going to have the same deep dive that like an Ingram or we would provide, right? So it's kind of the same thing. What we know is basically he's been scamming people. This kind of touching story of he took $2,500 from this woman getting chemo, and I believe is it XQRC or XQC? XQC. He's paid that woman back then and then some. And apparently he sent her Bitcoin and had a little bit left over, like 1K left over or whatever, and fired it off into a slot stream and just binked for 1.5 million. So, so it seems as though he feels some sort of. It seems as though he feels some sort of obligation to pay people back.
He made a video that he is going to pay back everybody.
Yeah, I saw he and Ludwig were tweeting that they had planned to pay everybody back, but it was going to take some time. I'm not sure why they feel obligated to.
Yeah, somebody was like, Sliker's the type that will make a fake account and say that he scammed himself.
Just to get a little bit of little payback, I guess.
Wow. Sharp.
Yeah, right? He might, actually.
Hey, I got scammed by Sliker for 50K.
Because they were going to cross-reference with Sliker. So they're like, he's the type that will cross-reference himself.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the Spider-Man meme. He's just pointing at himself. Like.
So now that we kind of have this out there, it's really not all that important. This type of shit happens all the time, right? Like, it's only really noteworthy because of the larger conversation that came off of it and how that kind of lends itself to poker.
Right.
Before I get into that, though, I do want to demonstrate a little bit of like what his scam looked like to kind of catch everybody up. So we have a few clips here of him kind of on voicemail, reaching out to people and asking them for money, basically.
Hope you're having a good day. I'm sorry for this voice note. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really sorry. I really do hope I'm not gonna ruin your fucking day with this. But yeah. Basically, I've asked, in case you're gonna be like, why are you asking me? I've asked a few people out there. I'm not really close with that many people, to be honest. And you might be like, why didn't you ask your girlfriend? I'm not with her. We don't speak and stuff. But basically, my bank got locked, and it's just so fucking frustrating. Since I got a lot of shit to pay off this month. My bank got locked and I've got a few things to pay off. Now, if I asked if I could borrow and I'll pay you it back. Hope you have Yo, Habibi, Dean. Bro, I want you to... Don't see me differently, bro. I'm so sorry in asking. Basically, my bank got temporarily locked. And I'm so desperate in money. I know you might be like, why not ask other streamers and shit? I have I don't even want to anymore because they're egotistical. Ludwig, Miz, all that shit. Trainwrecks, me and him don't speak much. He doesn't like me. But bro, it's so annoying to ask. If I did ask and I'll pay you in 10 days, is there any way you could? I need £780. It's for bills. And then basically in 10 days, I'm leaving my bank, I'm moving, and they're transferring all my money. But this... Yo, Habibi, Dean. Yo, Typhoon, what's up, baby? I hope you don't hate me on this. It's so cringe, and I'm cringe for asking my brother. Please do not hate me. Please, keep it personal as well. Basically, my bank account got locked. This has happened for like 3-4 days. I've been asking around people. Sadly, tomorrow is the last day until my credit starts getting fucked up. It got locked out, and I was looking for people that actually work and that I could ask if I could borrow from, and I'll pay back. Genuinely, give me 2 months and I can pay back. If you can't, no worries, my brother. If you can, but please, don't feel forced to say yes. Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't get in the call to do this. I feel genuinely embarrassed. I've asked a few streamers, they couldn't help, and yeah, I don't mind it. It's okay. So I just went out, asked a few subs I've noticed, and yeah, that's what.
Man, for anybody who's seen the Tinder Swindler, it's so identical.
It is very similar, yeah.
To the ruse that he ran. It's kind of like sociopathic how much he's nailed down.
Yeah.
The approach there.
I mean, that is sort of when people are like inactive addictions, they do get cut off from their empathy.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like comparable to that.
It's also wild. Like I imagine that anybody who actually fell victim to the scam probably felt some level of either connection to him or sympathy for him or empathy for him in some regard. Because if you actually listen to the words, they're just screaming you're about to get scammed.
Yeah.
Like, hey, my bank got locked down and it's a super hassle. I promise you I could pay you back in a couple months.
Right. 2 months.
What?
Well, why is your bank locked for 2 months?
I've never had a bank problem that lasted longer than an hour
and
or two.
he was like using this excuse for years. So it's
Right.
like, well, at this point you get a new bank.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Did you realize this guy was on the Hustler stream?
No.
Sliker?
Yeah.
He was?
The one with Helmuth?
Apparently he was on the Hustler stream.
I think it was Slime.
Yeah, Slime was
Slime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this guy definitely was not.
No, this guy's not big enough to be on.
I don't remember that voice on the.
Yeah, I mean, I remember too, but somebody in the chat.
Yeah, they
said it.
look. They're both bald.
Sure. This is gonna be me if I keep playing streamed poker.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be like out there in the
Bald guy.
No. I'm gonna be in the YouTube.
Needing money.
I'm gonna be in the YouTube chat like, yo.
Habibi.
Habibi, my bank got frozen.
Yo, dear mamacita.
I noticed you've been a long time sub.
Yeah, I noticed you've been here for a long time. You're very loyal to us. I have this problem. I got invited to Live at the Bike this week, and my bank account is just frozen. And
I give you 5% free roll.
yeah, I'll give you 5% free roll. Just send the money to send it to my bank account. It's frozen for a little while, but like a few months, no problem. I got you. I promise. With investment or with returns.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of terrifying, and obviously like there's a lot of access to this is kind of the trouble that comes with building social clout is, and this goes all the way back to the dawn of time, right? We're just able to kind of scale it a lot better now, in the sense that the first time I was scammed was by a reg fish who used to play in Buffalo, Niagara. And he like followed me to the bathroom while I was taking a piss, and I'm mashing the 5-10 game that we're playing, and he's like a bar owner in Buffalo, so I assume he has money. And he just like hits me up and he's like, hey man, I didn't bring enough cash on me, can I get 1,000? And it's like, I was very uncomfortable, but also 22, winning all the money, and assumed that he was just going to put it on the table and lose, which he did.
Right.
But like, I never got that fucking 1,000 back.
Yeah, you're getting free rolled.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like, actually, he did give it. I don't know if you remember. It was Randy. We were playing Caesars. Like, this had to be 8 years later. And he had like gone on this miracle run at the WPT. He like got second or third in a major for like hundreds of thousands, right? So LeMan and I bump into him at Caesars.
You're waiting at the cash out line?
No, nothing like that. We were just like playing 5-10 there. It might have been like 2010 or something like that. We were playing a good 5-10 game, and he's sitting with like a lot.
Yeah.
And, he kind of just like very quietly was just like, hey, man, I didn't forget. And he slides me 500, which is half.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, bro, you just had like a 400K score. Where's the other half? Like, what are we doing here?
Everyone else.
And it's like, either in his mind he forgot that it was 1,000, or he had just like gotten it to a point where he had decided that paying off half of it was more than enough.
Forget.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be happy to get that. Get 500.
No, for sure.
You wrote that off a long time ago.
100%. But yeah, it's just like one of those things where in these types of communities, you have, before social media, before the ability to leverage social clout, you had to actually have some knowing of the person.
Yeah, and there was something that spoke to this, because these two viewers were talking about it, and someone posted their conversation where they're like, oh, it was really nice, like I got to help him out, and then they're like, yeah, that's awesome, like he seems like he really needs it, and like it's this parasocial relationship thing, and we've all experienced this just like on a smaller scale from being on the podcast, but they're like parasocial relationships get formed where people think that they know you, but it's actually one-sided, and they're only seeing a portion of you from what you put out there. But these relationships form because you're interacting sort of with this community every day, and you're hearing from these people, and they're seeming to be very vulnerable. So you develop these parasocial relationships, which are one-sided relationships with someone that you've not met. And it used to happen with celebrities a lot, but it's more personal now with the streamers and podcasts and everything. So they feel like they trust you.
It certainly extends beyond this type of stuff too, right? Like this happens on social media, this happens on dating apps, this happens in so many ways where you become vulnerable to these like one-sided relationships where one person has an agenda and the other person is just kind of like along for the ride.
Yeah.
And yeah, like now it's happening. It can happen far beyond the acquaintance level, right? Like you can actually make this scalable. So scams in the past used to be like the type of shit that we would see where you would get a call from the fake IRS saying that you owe extra on your taxes because like they actually had to work to scam you. They don't know you. Now it's literally just develop some sort of rapport where your name carries some level of clout or some level of social standing.
Right.
And you could just really dupe people across the board.
We saw that with the Grayson guy.
Yeah.
Because he had a check mark and was like a Disney voice actor or something.
100%.
Whatever he was.
And I think that this is important because the larger conversation that was born out of this, and this is like the bigger one that I want to actually have amongst this group because it does kind of impact us a little bit, but also it's something that over the years I've thought pretty heavily about. Dating all the way back to when Sheldon Adelstein was like really hard blocking online poker from, like he was lobbying hard against it. And the idea was that people initially believed that he was just like anti-poker, which he may have been. But the reality was he was anti losing revenue to online gambling sources. Right. So it wasn't specifically poker. It was online gaming as a whole. He didn't want to see like slots and blackjack and stuff like that. So I think that there's a larger conversation to have around that. But prior to jumping into that, we have to acknowledge that what actually brings this conversation up is not the fact that he scammed people, because that happens all the fucking time. You could get scammed by a hot girl on Twitch who does just chatting every day and doesn't have anything to do with gaming or gambling, right? The reason the larger conversation got brought up is because what he was doing with the money that he scammed them out of.
Yeah.
Right? He was degenning it off in slots.
He was like clearly
or
in like a gambling addiction.
Right. So now that brings forward this bigger conversation that has been happening at the Twitch community level at large, as well as the general population of people who like participate in Twitch. So the passive participants, the viewers, so to speak. And there's a lot of rhetoric around Twitch should cancel gambling on their site.
Pokimane tweeted that.
Yeah. So the basic rhetoric is that, Twitch should not allow gambling to exist on their site. They should police this a lot heavier because it's a problem. Right? Before I kind of get into my take, I kind of just want to throw the general question out there of, is there an obligation when you're a major distribution channel such as Twitch or YouTube or, even to go so far as to say like Google, to police these sort of cultural, let's call them pitfalls, these cultural pitfalls, these social pitfalls, whether it be gambling addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, these things that can kind of ruin lives.
Right.
Is it on them to parent and police in an active way, or are we more on the free market side of things of it's the individual's choice? These marketing tactics aren't what's ruining lives. It's the decision to act.
I mean, he talked about how his started with like CSGO packs, and I mean, I have an issue with the slots and everything being marketed to kids or, like big streamers with a lot of children viewers and sort of getting them hooked on that type of thing so young. But it is happening already in like these game packs and stuff. That's sort of starting those neurotransmitters. So it's I don't know like how much you really can police it, but I know that I would have a bit of a moral dilemma because obviously they're offering them insane amounts of money every month to promote slots, like $1 million a month type stuff. And at the same time, you know that you are influencing people to do something that is literally designed to get them addicted. So I don't know.
Well, for what it's worth in some cases too, especially when it comes to the platforms, it's very clear from the platform perspective that the viewership should be 18 plus. right? When it comes to someone that's streaming things of that nature, like gambling streams.
Well, that'd be 21, right?
No, 18.
18, I think.
18 to watch content.
Gotcha.
And to Melissa's point, it's true. When I was younger, I was playing like card games and stuff. Like I play a lot of Magic the Gathering, and they had packs and stuff. And on the back, I'm pretty sure there was like an EV assigned to how much EV a pack itself has. Because obviously, if a pack is worth $5, the EV of the pack is not $5. There are cards that are worth a lot, but most of the time you're going to get cards that aren't worth that much. And I remember when I was younger, I would win some stuff, lose some stuff, and spend money and buy packs because opening packs is fun.
Yeah.
Right?
I started doing that when I was like 6 years old, going to the card store with my dad. So I was born it.
So that's kind of that kind of brings me to the bigger picture or the bigger question at hand, because obviously it's easy to police gaming. They can just ban it. Right. But what now becomes the question is, where's the line drawn? Because gambling is becoming more and more gamified every single day, right? If you look at like Clash of Clans? Yeah. That's a perfect example of like a game that is hyper addictive in nature, but is literally just a video game. But it has so many in-app purchases that it's one of the highest grossing apps to ever hit the store.
I've spent a lot of money on that.
Right.
app.
And the idea is that you're not quote unquote gambling when you spend that money.
Yeah.
But you're making negative EV purchases.
It's more like the predatory aspect, and that could be seen as the microtransaction games can be seen as predatory towards children, where they just want to speed up the game and play it, but they have to pay gems in order to do that.
It is an interesting like in between when you really think about all of it, just because it's so true that all of these purchases are gambling. You are spending money, but you are receiving entertainment from that as well.
Right.
So
that's the line. Where's the line
of
exactly.
This is gambling? We as a collective society have decided this is gambling. This is looked down upon, where this other thing, call it even playing like a Fortnite game where you can like get skins and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the same
Apex,
thing too.
like opening the packs is very much like a gambling feeling. You don't know if you're going to get a legendary or not. Borderlands has a slot machine in it.
Right. So
which is very fun.
So ethically speaking, where do you feel these platforms should align? Right. Like, and when I'm asking that question, I'm not asking you to speak on behalf of Twitch or YouTube. I'm more so asking, like, ethically speaking, where do you guys all fall with the idea of the amplification of gambling to a general audience? Let's forget about the age aspect. Right? Let's come to an agreement that we're talking about adults.
Yeah.
So 18 plus,
100%.
right? So now ethically, where do you guys land on the ability to promote and target people?
I don't think
this service.
I'm not. I never watched like these slot streams and stuff like that. So I'm not exactly sure what is being
You've been
said.
hooked though.
What?
You've been hooked though.
On what?
Slots.
I've been hooked on slots.
Have you?
Oh, Lamanna used to grind the slot apps for they're free.
They were
like
free. Slotomania? Yeah. I would play because it was just fun.
Those,
I never
on your
paid.
phone.
You could pay for like more like coins or whatever.
Oh, okay,
I never did that.
Slow and steady wins the race, baby.
Exactly.
Yep.
But like, I guess if you're streaming and you're making it look like these negative edge games are not
right.
I think that's the line, right?
I agree.
It's just like if you're saying, okay, this is entertainment, and it's clear that you have a negative edge and you are probably going to lose. But if you're trying to spin it where like, oh, if you do this, this, and this, then you're going to make money, which is just a flat out lie, and that's where you're deceiving people.
Yeah.
And I think that has to be definitely a line drawn that
like,
they should not allow that.
I don't know. Here's something maybe adjacent to what you think. Like when people are sponsored by alcohol companies, but at the end they say like drink
responsibly. They say gamble responsibly.
Right,
and
gamble responsibly.
I will say like Trainwrecks is one of the biggest ones now. But to me, watching him as someone who used to be hooked on the negative EV gambling stuff, I see him and I'm like, he is in so fucking far deep. And he says like, this is not a profitable thing. Like you will lose money if you get, I think he's down, someone said on Twitter, like 120 million.
Yeah.
Like he's down infinite. But people like, I think if they already want to do the thing, they will see those big wins and then block everything else out. So if they already have they want to do this, like they will find a way to justify it.
So do you find that to be a then moral or ethical responsibility on the platforms?
No, I don't think it's the platforms. I think it's, it's hard. Like I don't know if that policing it's really going to help that much.
So we have some precedent set for this. I'm not sure of the governing body that overrides this, but you can't advertise cigarettes or tobacco on TV.
Okay.
Right. So this is
I think it could be maybe that it would fall into that category.
Right. So like that's kind of what I'm asking. Right. So at some point in time, we decided that ethically speaking, television had too much reach, and that it was not going to be okay to advertise a product that was so damaging as tobacco.
Where kids could see it. I remember when that happened because they used to have those Camel pina colada flavored cigarettes they were advertising when I was like 8 years old, and I was like, I'm going to smoke those. Yeah. So I remember when they did that.
But conversely, alcohol is fine.
Right.
And alcohol is a much bigger business.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, dollars matter. And I'm only bringing this up as, a this or that type of question, because I don't think that I don't think that it's not hypocritical to hold the stance of I won't advertise tobacco, but I will advertise alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's clear and utter hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And doesn't really fall into either a free market mindset or an ethical mindset. Right. So I only demonstrate that because it's clear that we've, as a society, have had these conversations in the past. Right. And, for the most part, I'm pretty certain that up until very, very recently, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, gambling was not allowed to be advertised. We're only just now starting to see the Caesar sports books and things of that nature come rolling out. But now, with that being said, if they're able to advertise in the general open platform of television, which has tremendous reach, then why should Twitch or YouTube harm their own bottom line by cutting out one of the biggest movers in their industry?
Exactly.
I don't think that the platform has anything, like, any responsibility here. Honestly, I think that it's to each his own.
Sorry, are you speaking specifically to gambling or in general?
I meant to gambling, or actually in general, kind of either.
So if they were advertising porn, you think that would be fine?
Well, I mean,
I'm not trying to gotcha you.
No, you're not trying to gotcha you.
No. But like, advertising porn is a different thing because, like,
it's against their TOS.
It's that too, but it's also it's like censorship. Like, kids are going to be seeing this.
Well, the premise that we're talking about is that these are adult only streams, so it's 18 plus.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess that's kind of what I'm asking is where's the line drawn? Because for what it's worth, like, I'm not trying to gotcha you. At the end of the day, I almost uniformly agree that this is not on the platform to police. Right?
So it'd be within their terms of service.
Yes, I think that that's true. And I think that, like, when we're talking about where the line of demarcation should be drawn for what they do police and what they don't police, I think it should be things that societally a simple majority agree on are bad, right? Like, I think that they should not advertise illegal drugs, right? Because collectively we've decided that we're not going to promote the usage of illegal drugs, right? I think that they probably shouldn't promote prostitution and that's not even to say that these things are inherently bad. It's that they're inherently currently illegal.
Yeah.
Right. So when legalities, or like, basically the easiest way to draw the line is where the law draws the line. Right. Even if you don't agree with it. Right. Like, even if I believe that prostitution should be legal, even if I believe that we shouldn't have necessarily high penalties for, or using drugs shouldn't be a crime, whatever, that doesn't matter. Because the law specifies that it is illegal. And I think that that's the way television has operated for many, many years. That's why gambling wasn't able to be promoted on TV for a long time.
You follow the law. You follow the rules that are set in place, and then you play by those rules. If you as a company want to create a TOS and say, we will not have this, this, and this, it is then on to the streamer or the person that's doing it to follow those rules. And if you don't, you get...
I kind of ask this because I think it would be very reasonable and borderline smart, especially with the seeming decline of Twitch right now, to lean more into a TikTok type of marketing platform where like OnlyFans is a big part of their ad rev, right? Because that's a big aspect of TikTok. Is it's a major funnel to OnlyFans.
Really?
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
It's like one of the number one ad
TikTok
generation.
is where you go to thirst trap.
Yeah. And that's not to say that it doesn't market a lot of other stuff. Like in China specifically, they're utilizing TikTok to play like in like during a 15-second TikTok, they'll have ads also playing that are clickable. So
Yeah.
like if a girl's wearing a certain shirt, that shirt will pop up and it's clickable for you to buy.
Oh, yeah.
So they're testing a lot of things, and you know, it's basically we're getting off to a separate conversation of like how moral is gamifying and commodity. I'm going to mispronounce this. Turning people into commodities.
Commoditizing.
Yes, that was the word I was looking for. I didn't have the courage to say it.
It's okay.
Like how ethical is that?
That's like
And that's a whole sidebar,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a bigger picture conversation that I don't think we're ready to have at this very second. But bringing it back full circle to the responsibility of the platform itself, as far as I'm concerned, I mostly agree with you, Conrad, in the sense that I don't think they need to over police. Right, I don't think it's in their best interest unless they want to have like this marketplace that's more clean cut, targeting youth type of but that doesn't seem to be
sort of what Mixer was, and
more
that
of like a
failed.
Nickelodeon marketplace. Like it's gonna be like a lot of gaming, just like nothing.
If that's what they want,
yes.
yeah, and so I'm not sure what Mixer is.
So Mixer was another platform that Ninja moved from Twitch to.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be more of like a PG type of thing, only gaming, like not just more for kids, basically.
Yeah.
Wholesome platform.
More wholesome. It didn't do very well.
I was of the impression that's what Twitch was originally, and then hot tub streams began. And I just got confused because when we first started on Twitch back in 2016, 2017, we were immediately like, you know, like we knew the people developing Twitch poker and stuff like that, and we were kind of amplified. But I remember there just being like this very strict rule in place of like, if you're caught shirtless as a man, you're just banned.
If you're shirtless as a woman outside of like bathing suits in water settings, like it is, they have very strict TOS, and it's a reason why a lot of people are moving to YouTube. Like they just historically don't really treat streamers very well, and they ban them very quickly. So
yeah, and honestly, when it comes to all of this stuff, when you think of one thing versus something else, it makes more sense to use one as the overall, whereas a platform, it's in their best interest if they want to promote certain things to do that. Like people are going to find what they're looking for, whether that platform exists or not, because another platform, if it doesn't already exist, will pop up and provide that service.
I agree.
So it has to be up to the people. And you could say some things are moral or immoral based off of how you feel, but at the same time, it's just not. It's not the same, you know. People find what they're looking for.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think that carries me into how I personally feel this should be handled. And this takes me all the way back to, I remember, you know, Dan and I used to talk at length about this when Alstein was in the news often about online poker and things of that nature, where he and I both kind of had a similar take of, this guy's a crackpot, but I kind of agree. And what we were talking about was the scalability of casinos moving to an online platform. Right. The reason why we don't see in-person brick and mortar gambling as nefarious as it potentially could be, as society threatening as it potentially could be, is because it's difficult to get in volume at scale to where it brings people to their knees. Like there are always going to be stories of the problem gambler who make too many trips to Vegas, lose their net worth, who have a local casino in their home.
Access is just way too easy online. You just log on and
it's not even just the access.
You can multi-table too.
It's the volume.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, when it comes to Twitch, I think their responsibility is not to police this in an elimination aspect, because Landon, your point is very valid. Someone else will see that as an opportunity.
Yeah, of course.
And they'll capitalize and they will make all that ad revenue. And that's just silly for Twitch to shoot themselves in the foot for being holier than thou.
Right.
What they should be doing, in my opinion, is forcing the market to become educated. So the same way that to sell a pack of cigarettes, it has to come with a Surgeon General's warning on it. I feel like the same should be the same type of standard should be held whenever we're talking about these negative edge type of scenarios, right?
Yeah,
so anything that potentially has a negative edge gamble to it,
a proven loss rate,
should come with this preface of understand, like kind of what you were saying about Trainwreck. Understand that what you're watching is certain to result in loss, right?
Or just have like the alcohol type, drink responsibly, gamble responsibly. It says this streamer is promoting something.
Most of them have that on their stream.
Exactly. And
I just wanted to go a step further of not misleading the market, right? Because most of the advertising is done in sucking the viewer into the experience of being in like that blue zone.
You're saying the marketing is in the way of you can make money from
like
this
showing
thing.
all the big wins and stuff.
I see what you're saying.
Right. So like all the highlights and stuff like that. I think all of that stuff, if it's going to live, like if I'm Twitch and I say like, okay, these clips are going to live on my platform, they're going to live on a platform with a warning sign ahead of it. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like skull and crossbones. Like it doesn't have to be to the point where they cut off their nose and spite their face. You still want these outside gambling arenas to market through you. But I think that you generally want to put out this, hey, just so you know, you're not special. You're not going to beat the payoff matrix of these slots. Like this is just for fun. So enjoy my pain as a viewer type of thing.
It's one of these things where you market it as you are paying for entertainment. You're not playing it as a profession.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to touch on something you said before. That cigarette, you're allowed to advertise for alcohol, but not cigarettes, and you called it hypocrisy, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Why?
Because cigarettes have no upside, whereas alcohol, you have fun. You can have fun.
Some people could say cigarettes.
That's all subjective.
But cigarettes literally has no upside. Like alcohol is served in fun settings. Like you can like do things. Like
I mean, you can make that argument all you want, but it's very subjective. People who smoke will tell you that cigarettes have upside.
Yeah, they'll say there's a social aspect. Like
I smoked my whole life. There is no like.
That's your opinion.
It's
just a personal.
Yeah,
opinion,
it's one perspective though. The argument can be made for cigarettes. being like something like a social ritual. They go outside. Like this is what I used to say when I smoked. Like
also, nicotine has a very powerful like lock-in effect. Yeah, it's a stimulant. It's a stimulant. It's a nootropic. It's similar to caffeine in that way. So it's not like as if I mean, yeah, obviously like cigarettes are gross. They stink.
They stink.
And yeah, like but also understand the evolution of that product, right? Like they were actually marketed as healthy to begin with in like the 30s.
Healthy and cool.
And there was a huge, and they literally actively tried to target children.
Okay,
right?
okay. So
Get
how
them
did
hooked
that
when they're
change?
young.
What changed? What made that stop happening?
Education, right? And that's why I'm advocating for these platforms' responsibility to be to educate rather than to eliminate.
I mean, I have a feeling we will see some examples of the downfalls of, if we haven't already, like the downfalls of these types of gambling things and getting sucked into them. I mean, to me, like I used to watch Trainwrecks like before he started gambling, and then I didn't watch for a while, and then I saw like him doing the gambling. It's like he's just completely different. Like he's completely like sucked into that, and like he's going on these like 36-hour benders doing, and to me it just screams like gambling addiction.
Right.
And I think that like unfortunately we probably will see some more sad stories come from it.
For sure.
That will help with the education part, because like right now it's so new.
Right.
There's a lot of people being exposed to it for the first time in their lives. And it's very new to at this scale being advertised by Stake and everything.
It's also so opportunistic in the sense that if you're willing to take the loss up front, you could potentially be the next big streamer who's earning 7 figures a month in ad revenue.
Yeah, that's very enticing for streamers coming up, seeing the amount of viewers they get. And
right. It could lead to some potential career choices of I want to be a slot or gambling streamer that will then get picked up by a industry or a company that will then allow me to like give me money to do
and
that.
at that point you are like free rolling slots.
Right. Well, until you get to that point, and you're also becoming an entertainer in that regard, people are going to make that choice anyways.
Right.
People are going to do these things themselves, and people having the opinion of X corporation should ban this is just like a personal feeling, which is completely reasonable, but at the same time, at a larger scale, it doesn't actually make that much sense from a corporate
People
perspective.
have been gambling since the dawn of time.
And they'll continue to gamble until the sun blows up.
Right, yeah. That's what I mean. Like, there is no elimination practice of these things that some people may view as morally corrupt. And I think that it just behooves everybody to be much more accepting of activities that may not fit your lifestyle, but are fitting to other people's. Try to better understand it, try to educate, try to basically keep things hemmed in as much as possible. And that kind of brings me to the correlation to poker here. Right. So what I think is very critical is that we don't get lumped in. And that seems to be the general consensus and the fear that a lot of streamers are kind of navigating at this point. The worry is that somehow poker will get lumped in. And honestly, if poker gets lumped in, chess isn't very far behind, right? Because maybe that's where they draw the line, is that like poker is gambling and chess is not. But the fact of the matter is, you can bet on chess the same way you could bet on esports, the same way
you ever seen poker players play chess?
Right.
They turn it into gambling
You
real fast.
can literally bet on anything, right?
Yeah.
You could bet on how many push-ups you can do.
Right.
You can bet on how many cars that are blue you're going to see next 5
You
minutes.
can bet on who streams longer.
Right, yeah. So it's like the gambling aspect will always exist. That's why I think education is so much more important than elimination.
Right.
And I'm not even advocating for slot streams to be eliminated, right? I'm advocating for there to be a change.
Yeah.
What I'm not advocating for is poker to be lumped in. I think this is a clear opportunity for platforms like Twitch and YouTube to educate themselves on the market, to understand the difference, and to recognize that there's growth potential in a very different way in esports, in poker, in chess, in these other arenas that money may actually have a part of or a hand in, so to speak. Even sports betting and fantasy, right? Like, this would be tragic if DFS got lumped into this.
Right. DFS gambling is like, there's markets for anything that you can think of when it comes to esports, when it comes to like Counter-Strike, League of Legends. You can just bet on anything.
Well, the big problem becomes like how we define gambling. It's just a loose definition, right? So the real critical line that I'm trying to toe here is, can something be plus EV?
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Slots cannot.
Right.
Clear gambling.
There's no way to make it plus EV.
Usually it's pretty clear. It's when you're gambling against like the house or like like an entity, or you're gambling against a group of people or one other person,
right? Like
where you have decisions to make, right?
In a casino, right? If you're someone that's like a slot, like advantage player or something, they literally kick you out. If you count cards playing blackjack to give yourself an edge, they kick you out.
If you win too much sports betting, they ban you.
They ban you. You're too sharp.
I think the clearest definition of skill-based game versus no skill-based game is, can I lose on purpose? So blackjack and poker, I can purposefully lose.
Yeah, anyone who saw me in my rat hole stream knows you can lose on purpose.
I don't want to know. Actually, I do want to know.
I was playing the one. So they have the smallest rat hole is 5 cent, 10 cent rat hole. You buy in for $1 every buy-in.
Okay.
So I was just playing with my viewers.
Sure.
I was like, fuck it. I had you as a card cover at first. You as the astronaut was my card cover.
Nice.
But then I was like, fuck it. I don't care. Let's just gamble. So I took the card cover off. We're just
dumping like $1 at a time.
Yeah, we're just playing. I'm playing the PLO one for $1 buy-in, and yeah, you can definitely lose on purpose.
There are certain negative edge games where you can lose on purpose. Though.
Yes.
There's definitely a lot of good that can happen.
Like roulette. Like if you played every number, you would lose.
That's not what I mean by lose on purpose. I mean like make a play that not make a negative EV play. Make a play where I can win 0% of the time. You're still winning some percent if you play every number. You're just winning less than what you actually bet. If I play a hand of poker, I can put all my money in the middle and then
just
fold
your cards. Yeah.
If I'm playing blackjack, I can just hit endlessly until I'm over 21.
Right.
I can purposefully lose the game.
This is a great
I
way
can
to
never
show.
purposefully lose roulette or slots or anything like that.
That's
It's out of my
true,
control.
Yeah.
That's a great way to define skill. Right? Because you have actions, and your actions can, in some regards, increase or decrease your overall win or loss rate.
They carry like our control is limited by variance, but we do have enough control that they carry enough weight that we can impact the outcome, at least on the negative side, to 100% accuracy.
Right. Like with DFS, right? You pick the people on your team.
Right.
There is a skill. You choose those decisions. You can choose to not use your max salary, right?
You could choose not to roster anybody.
Exactly.
You could choose to pick all backups. Like there are ways that you could purposefully lose a DFS contest. Like clearly there's a skill there.
It makes a lot of sense to view it that way versus the normal way that people have seen
like,
gambling.
Let's say that you are supposed to be in a like who can lose the most contest.
Right.
You could do that in poker.
You want to bet on that?
Yeah. Actually, I do.
Let's do it.
You could. We can do it with the $1 buy in rat hole.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay. But you could do that with poker or with like blackjack or one of those. But then if you were to do who can lose the most in slots versus who can win the most in slots, it's going to be the same.
It's just random.
Yeah, it's both random.
Completely random.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that delineation is a very critical one for us to make, because what it allows us to do now is separate the conversation in how this is policed moving forward, right? The idea to call for a gambling ban is a scary one to me, but it at least makes a little bit of logical sense when you're talking about massive negative EV games such as slots, right? These feel predatory in nature, especially mainly because of the online aspect, right? If this were Caesars Entertainment advertising during a poker stream to get people to come to Las Vegas to play slots, think of all the hoops that they have to jump through, right? The acquisition model there is so difficult and the retention model is so low because the people are only in Vegas for a finite amount of time, right?
Yep.
So you're only able to get X amount of dollars out of every user that you acquire. You have to constantly be in acquisition and you have to constantly deal with this churn rate at the bottom, right? When you're talking about online though, the worth of each customer has to be exponentially higher than it would be in person, right? Because every single one of those people that you acquire to your online casino has infinite access. They're never cut off unless they run out of money, right? And they're always just a click away. So there's no barrier of entry like there is hopping a flight, going to a physical place, having money on you. Trying to get more money when you're in the physical place is even difficult, right?
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
If you're on an online casino, though, you're a click away from getting another deposit, right? So I think that, truthfully, I would love to see more regulation around online casinos, period. And I'm hesitant to say that because obviously it potentially sets back online poker,
right?
Because we are still too closely adjacent and we're too closely lumped in.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, like I was saying this on the car ride over, if I'm not sure what the lowest payout table is for an in real life slot. I think it might be like 97% or 96%, something along those lines. But when it comes to online, we should press hard for regulation to be like 99% payoff.
No,
right?
I would think
it's
there's
usually
slots that are
between
way
like
lower than that.
94 and 98.
Yeah, fair. Okay, fine. But
Average, average.
Right, but the whole point is that the dollar spend per customer is so much lower than it is online, I would assume, right? And also the acquisition cost of each customer is so much higher live than it would be online. So when all of that's true and you're able to like mass market the way that Stake has done through Twitch, the way you're able to reach millions, if not billions of eyeballs to get your product out there.
They're also doing it at such a high note. Like they're sort of desensitizing the viewers to like the dollar amount because these people are playing with $20 million bankrolls.
Yeah.
So then like the viewer is like, oh, I'll play on here. I'll use their promo code or whatever. And then to them, like, suddenly $1,500 doesn't look as big as it used to.
I think the real issue is like what you said when it comes to the marketing, because when you think about other things, right? Let's say you go to a movie, right? You're gambling that you're going to say the EV of spending this dollar amount is going to give me greater than what I just spent for the movie, right? You're paying for entertainment. You're giving something away for something else. You don't think about the ROI of going to go see a movie, right? But when people are doing the slot streams and the marketing is you can win money and like you can increase your overall net worth from doing this, there's a different story there, right? It's just a completely misinterpretation of what's actually happening. So once we as a community educate and be able to explain, hey, this is a negative EV game, but if you want entertainment and you're going to find it, that's for you, completely different.
Yeah.
Because we're going to find what we're looking for.
I think ultimately we're trying to take away the predatory aspect of it. And that's why I'm speaking to more regulation. And I understand a lot of these are like rest of world sites that have like no commission overlooking them.
Like crypto gambling.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, we're in the wild, wild west. I hope that like we evolve out of it in some capacity, but I don't put that onus on Twitch necessarily. What I do put the onus on Twitch for is removing the predatory aspect. And from my vantage point, nothing about poker streams is predatory.
Yeah.
Right? Like the acquisition model for poker is so bad. Not bad in the sense of like we're doing a bad job, but bad in the sense of like the ROI is so low for online sites. That's why streaming is what it is, right? There's a handful of really well-known streamers who get paid an okay amount. And then there's everybody else who kind of just does it to build a brand.
Yeah.
Almost nobody is making money off of CTAs or affiliates or anything along those lines because it's so goddamn expensive to acquire one new user, and the spend that you can expect off of a new user is so insanely low.
You're building a brand when you start. Like, let's say you have nothing and you want to be, I want to be a streamer. I'm going to start here. And you have no other outside sources to help you. You're effectively gambling on your ability to generate and create an audience, generate and create a name for yourself. And then once that happens, get picked up somewhere along the line because there's an effective exit.
Yeah.
And the exit would be get picked up by something.
Right. Offer value to somebody else.
A lot of for poker streamers, a lot of it is like a means to an end or a way to get a sponsorship. Or I mean, that's part of building a brand. Is you want to get that stuff. So.
Right. You make because in poker now, nobody is doing the marketing for you.
Right.
You have to do it for yourself.
Right.
So if you want to become someone in poker from that regard, streaming, doing vlogs, you create your own content, and then the community sees that as a whole, and they decide whether or not you stick around or not.
Well, more importantly, with the actual product itself, it doesn't do a great job of self-promoting, right? So like when you watch a streamer play poker online, you don't watch anything all that exciting within the gameplay. They don't win big very often. It's just a lot of the mechanics of the game that you get to witness over and over. When you watch a slot streamer, it's the highs and the lows. You're riding that variance with them. You're basically riding the dragon, right?
Yeah.
And the actual mechanism itself does a great job of self-promoting because of the bells and the whistles and the sounds and the big scores and the jackpots.
It makes the stream addictive because the actual slot is designed to be addictive.
Right. Right. So I think that like that's the separation that I would lean pretty heavily on is the idea of predatory versus non-predatory. And really push very hard for platforms like YouTube and Twitch to understand that poker doesn't get lumped in there. Right. I think that that's like pretty critical to get across because if you were to pull the rug out from underneath a lot of these upstart streamers in the poker industry and things like that, you're really taking away the lifeblood of a community. Right. And that's a little bit problematic for us as poker players as a whole, because right now, I think these platforms are our greatest growth mechanism, right? Even if we're just speaking about in a live venue, I still think that like the best way to keep people interested is by putting out great content day in and day out, because quite frankly, they're just not getting it anywhere else.
Right.
The vast majority of people who aren't playing poker regularly are also not viewing Poker Go ever.
Yeah.
Right? They're not really able to see the WSOP that freely anymore. There aren't other shows on TV. So like you just don't hear about it. You don't see it. We're not in the mainstream. We're not covered by ESPN, none of that stuff. But it's pretty easy for them to fall down a rabbit hole on YouTube if they just like have an interest one day of like, I kind of like poker. Let me see what's going on in that space. And they just Google poker.
Right. Sometimes the algorithm just gives you something you didn't expect. Like I watch a game that I've never even played myself just because I find it fun to watch other people play.
Pets.
Yeah. Like Ludwig plays Super Auto Pets.
Right.
And that's how I found it.
Yeah.
Because I would see a Ludwig stream or someone else stream. They play the game like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Then I found
do that
some
too
more
with
stream.
games. Like I've never ever played Rust in my life, but I love watching Rust gameplay.
Exactly. And it's just, there will be something that will come up if the corporation decides to cut it.
Right.
Because there's so much opportunity as seen, and that's why it exists now.
Yeah. So I think, just kind of wrapping this little portion of it up, I think ethically speaking, Twitch and YouTube probably don't really have to overreach in this particular instance. Society as a whole seems to have accepted that gambling is a part of our culture. and it's something that we're going to accept. As far as like the United States goes, like there are regulatory practices. Maybe it's on these platforms to follow those a little bit more closely. Again, I think like just sticking to what the law deems to be acceptable is a good way to navigate what's in your TOCs and what isn't. But I would like to see a movement towards education, educating out of predatory behavior, educating the difference between gambling and skill-based games, educating like even to the degree of like what variance is and things of that nature. I'm not putting all of this on the platforms themselves. I'm just saying it's easy for them to incentivize their content creators to do these types of things, to jump through these hoops in order to maintain their audience and keep reaping the rewards of said platforms.
Or just like when you know how when they have the disclaimer, I guess, of the 18 plus only, like warning, you have to be 18 plus, and you click the thing to be able to watch it.
Yeah.
When you watch a gambling stream, they have that, but they also have like a paragraph explaining how it works, right? How the situation works. This gambling, like slot streaming, isn't a positive EV game. Right?
I think that we will naturally see more opportunities for education as cases like this come out, because just this is the nature of negative EV gambling, and it is addictive, and it is a money suck, designed to be addictive and a money suck. And these streamers, I mean, to me, like, yeah, they're getting paid a lot, but like, how much of that are they actually keeping? Because like, I'm pretty sure that they're all fucking hooked on gambling.
Yeah, who knows, right? It's not really that important, I guess, when it comes to...
Well, my point is that like, I think that more examples of why it can be detrimental will come naturally from this, because they are big faces in the content creation sphere. And I hope the best for them, but the path that they're on does not end well.
Well, I just worry that then furthers the pitchforks of cancel this stuff from the platform.
Well, yeah. And unfortunately, like, that's where the push to delineate poker and
I think that's why
this is the consequence of these games. Like, that will happen.
I think that's why I'm like so much in advocation for getting ahead of this, because you're right, there are going to be these horror stories, and I want there to already be a mechanism in place where Twitch can just point to it and say like, look, this is what we've been doing, anticipating that something like this was going to happen. And you know, this is our stance moving forward. Kind of way.
Maybe we need to be making content about why poker is different.
Well, and here's the thing though, when it comes to like like the horror stories that are potentially possible, when it comes to opportunity, when it comes to business, when it comes to money from a corporate standpoint, in all actuality, someone else will then take that role. You know, like someone will be a new slot streamer. Someone will be a new big face to the name.
Right, but the allure wanes once big figureheads, you know, the ride stops.
Yeah, there's kind of shock there at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, like sticking a pin in this, I think that the call to action to get all of this element of Twitch cleaned up and canceled, I think is problematic. I think you can make a similar case against like the hot tub streams and stuff like that if you're very conservative sexually. And I mean,
people have addictions to giving girls money.
For sure, 100%. Like sugar daddy streams, whatever. Like we need to pick a lane and either be for the free and open market, or you know, be hardcore against. And I very much am certain that if you force Twitch into a corner of being hardcore against, you're just going to see the platform die.
Yeah.
Right.
So in lieu of killing the platform, I think it's better that we heavily incentivize them to do what's best for the community at large.
Yeah.
Begin an education process. Be a little bit harder on predatory behavior, and you know, just be wary of the fact that scammers exist.
Right. Because you can't hopscotch this thing, right? Because once something like this happens, you can then point to other vices in the potential viewership eyes of, oh, this is also taboo. This is also not right. Let's get all of this off the platform.
Who's it up to that decides where the line is?
Exactly.
What's taboo and what isn't?
And then there will also be another platform within the laws overall that will just show up and do it themselves.
Yeah.
And then people are going to go there to find it, right?
Or they'll go to an existing one that allows it, and that one will be like, oh yeah, look at all this money coming in. We're not going to ban this.
Exactly, because the overall law at this point is still these things aren't censored. Mm-hmm. They're allowed to be shown, right? Because if the law said you cannot stream these things, this wouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
Yeah.
Okay. Putting a pin in this for the 4th time now.
Hard, man.
If you're actually interested in competing in a plus EV, well, let's not frame it that way. If you're interested in competing in a fair gaming environment where the house is not what's crippling your edge, don't forget that BetMGM is running a poker championship this week. Over $2 million in guarantee. You guys can head over to betmgm.com, check out their full schedule there. There is a phase event every day at 8 p.m. to get you into the 100K guarantee. So be sure to check that out if you're in Pennsylvania, Michigan, or New Jersey. Available to all of you in those 3 states. The last bit of a conversation that I want to have around this is just how to navigate scammers in these types of communities. I think that, this is nothing new to poker.
Yeah.
Seeing something like this is so common.
Like this and then the Ludwig one with Grayson.
Yeah.
It's like this wouldn't really happen in the poker community.
Right. Yeah.
often.
So we've already seen this with this Grayson guy we've talked about a couple of times. He is kind of just like loosely in the poker community through influencers and things of that nature. And you hear the horror stories behind it, right? Hearing this happen kind of at a scale where it's actually the audience who's being scammed rather than individuals, it's a bit alarming. But again, like in the poker community, this is something that you have to be on the lookout for the second you decide that this is going to be your profession.
Yeah.
So you're always going to come across hustlers and grifters and people who are looking to take advantage of your kindness. And, again, I keep leaning on this, but live poker in particular, there is no community like this in the world where you could just see 50K exchanged on a handshake.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like
loaned, let
me get a couple cranberries.
Yeah.
I'm good for it. Like, I'll send you a text.
Right.
And that's it. And honestly, like the amount that it happens compared to the amount of horror stories, it's shocking.
I know
how good we are.
Yeah.
Collectively,
the
as a
amount
community.
of money that gets exchanged in a given month
It's
is
insane.
so much.
You just know that your reputation is your life.
In this community, that's absolutely true. Your reputation is absolutely your lifeblood. It's the thing that you can leverage the most. But it's also that thing where, we've kind of done this as a lot in things of how much money do you think you could steal through borrowing and stuff before you got caught?
Pats did that with how much do you think you could oversell for the main?
Right. Yeah, that's a good example too.
Yeah.
And really all it is a question of trust. Like, how trustworthy do you think that you are in this community? How much do you think your word is worth? And for a lot of us who've been around for some time, it's 7 figures for sure. Like it's not that hard to get 110K loans from people who like just trust that you have it, that's a small amount of money for you, that they have no concerns over getting it back. Right. So, and there have been people who've kind of made a career out of navigating that world in a bit of a shady way where they're always in debt to somebody. And every time they win an event, you just wonder how much of it is getting paid out because of past transgressions and things of that nature. That is the nature of gambling. That's the nature of the community and the beast and everything else. What I want to speak about, though, are kind of the warning signs that the everyman or the layperson can kind of look for whenever this type of stuff pops up, especially if you're a consumer of content, where now we are seeing this kind of crop up at scale. And we saw it happen during the pandemic. A lot of people started really shady back alley app games where they were just raking their consumers over the coals. And it was something that I was very much an advocate against. Like, I'm confident we could start a Poker Bros game, like, especially during the pandemic. We could start a Poker Bros game. We could get it out there on social. We could hit up our community and do all this stuff. And I'm very confident that like we could make 7 figures in revenue.
Do they set their own rake or?
I believe so.
Okay.
They might not set the floor threshold, but I'm pretty sure they set the ceiling.
Yeah, you have like 4 options.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like, how greedy do you want to be, basically?
Gotcha.
Do you want to start with like minimal greed, or you want to get all the way to?
And then you can change it.
You can change
man.
it as per
All
table.
the way to
you
Gordon
can change
Gekko
it as
greed.
per hand. You can
Wow.
change it like literally at any moment.
Min greed versus max greed.
Custom rake.
Yeah, like if you go heads up and stuff, people like lower the rate.
Yeah. So, there are a lot of telltale signs, and I think that you heard them in those conversations that Sliker was having, where it does sound like a generic read, right? Like,
yeah,
hey, mate,
practiced it.
I just, I'm so embarrassed over
Habibi,
this.
this is so cringe.
Yeah, this is so cringe to even ask. But like, it's just like, okay, man, like, I've never once been approached in that sort of way and felt it was genuine. Never once. Like, your antennas go up immediately. It's like, what are you trying to scam me for, man?
Because he has this big, long, like, preface.
And also, like, tone matters, the language matters, all of it. It's just like when a person genuinely asks you for something, specifically money, where they are coming hat in hand, it doesn't sound like that, right? Like the scams that I'll fall for are the ones where like it's somebody that I know to be trustworthy who genuinely comes up and goes, look, man, I don't really even know how to breach this conversation, but like, I'm really bad off.
That's kind of what he said, though.
Kind of, but like,
I don't even know how to say that. But he was like, maybe overdoing it.
Right. It was very much put on. It was very much aggressive, and it was also coming with a bunch of promises that are literally never going to get kept.
Sometimes you don't really care about these things when you feel like you have a relationship with someone.
But fair, but like that's also just like a red flag. Like you're being taken advantage of. Like again, like the times that like I've lent money were times where I didn't expect it back. Because somebody's coming like hat in hand and it's just like, listen, man, like I don't even know how to ask you for this, but you're the only person I can turn to. Like, is there any way possible that you could give me X because I have to do this, this, and this, and that money will facilitate that. I don't know if I can pay you back. I don't know when I can pay you back, but like, it's my intention.
It's his promise of like 10 days exactly, 2 months exactly.
Exactly. It's just such a red flag of like, no shot you're getting fucking paid back.
Right. That's because you're sharp about this stuff. Most people aren't that sharp about it. They just see someone that's like either in need or like they feel like they have a friendship or relationship with them where it's like, okay, sure, like I got you. And in the back of their mind, they probably have some sort of feeling that it's not going to get paid back, but they still hope to that feeling that it could be possible because they don't actively say like, hey, I'm probably not going to give you this money back, but I really need it. He's not going to get the money that way.
Right.
What about the part where he says, keep this private?
Yeah, that too.
That seems to me because if they hadn't kept it private, like this wouldn't have gone on as long.
Right.
Clearly, like they really did. I mean, props to them for keeping their word. They did keep it private, but a lot of these streamers are friends who he borrowed money from, like all of them, and like was borrowing from one to pay the other back. And, this happens all the time. But like, if they had spoken about that, they would have been able to figure out.
And I think that's what happens in poker really well. Is that
people
the known
cross-reference?
Yeah, the known grifters just get cross-referenced out so quickly, right? Where there are just group chats amongst other people in that peer group, and they're just like, "Yo, don't do business with so and so." He's just like running an elaborate scam, and it gets fun. And the problem is, it doesn't come out publicly, but it does get handled privately very, very quickly, and those people usually get snuffed out and disappear out of the community. I do think that it's just very important to understand that anybody who actually has the capacity to pay you back in this game probably will never ask. They probably just won't ever need. Like, I've never had to borrow money because I lack money. I have to borrow money because I don't have access to money.
Yeah, or like you have it in one form, you need it in a different form.
I'm in Florida and my money is in Aria chips.
Yeah.
Like, I need to borrow.
You have crypto, you need cash.
Right.
Like
it's always collateralized.
Yeah.
Right. And sure, there have been times in my career where I've been down and, have been effectively broke or poker broke. But like personally, I never once even had an inclination to borrow because I wasn't confident I could pay it back. Right. It's like people who are willing to people who are willing to shirk the risk onto you as the nice person who's willing to lend are the ones that have absolutely no intentions of paying back, right? They're devious in nature. So if it's a shit reg and he's saying like, yo, this happened, that happened, I need this, that, or that, he's busto, right? Like if ever there's even a 10% inclination that they might be busto, they're busto.
It's true,
for
man.
sure.
Once you have the understanding in yourself that if you give money to someone, you don't expect it back, you can't get hurt that way.
Yeah.
But you have to truly believe that to be the case.
Well, and these people were like, they were giving like all the money they had to help this streamer that they like. So it was like that hurt. That was hurt. It was the woman who needed chemo like had to sell assets to get chemo. Like that's like,
it's very much like being catfished.
Money you're expecting back.
It's very much like being catfished. Like I think that they're all doing it for some level of validation to believe or to sell to themselves that they're a good person who's helping somebody in need. And also like it's a clout play where it's like, I got to help this person who socially is above me in some sort of capacity.
Like he reached out to me personally.
Exactly.
He noticed me.
Yeah. So it's like now we have a bond, we have this connection, and he'll always owe me because of this favor, yada, yada, yada. But, the reality is A, you're getting got, but B, it does have that like catfish like appeal to it, or not appeal, but kind of disconnect or dissonance to it, where you know that it's a fucking scam.
Yeah.
Like that's the dissonance that gets created, is you go into it with the mindset of like, it's pretty probable this is a scam.
Right.
And then you convince yourself that it's just a free roll of like, oh, well, this money is small. It doesn't mean anything to me. And if he does pay me back, now I have a relationship with this streamer. Same thing with like the person catfishing you. It's like, yeah, this is probably a catfish, but if it's not, that girl's a fucking 10. And I might have just met my future wife.
Well, the other thing is when it's a public figure, you think there's like sort of an insurance, like they wouldn't ruin their reputation.
Right.
And I think all of this stuff that's happening, because obviously it's being more talked about when it's from a bigger name, is part of the learning curve of the internet. You know, this stuff will happen all the time. Different variations of it, different types of scams, if you will come up and show out. But that's part of the growth, and that's part of the world now.
Yeah.
You know, you're just going to have to get more educated and learn things as you go. It's like a trial by fire.
Yeah.
Like now we know things are being brought upon, and we're seeing it for what it could be.
Yeah. I think, you operate in these industries with your head on a swivel. You protect yourself at all costs whenever it comes to navigating these social relationships. And just understand that if you are going to get yourself into a situation where you are borrowing or lending, the proper way to go about it is to create tabs. It's all about the tab, baby. Right? Like,
he's wearing the shirt.
Yeah, you just put it on the tab.
You just put it on the
shit's
tab. If you keep a running tab with somebody, you've already developed some sort of relationship
A bond.
where
Oh,
you
a
know
tab
that
bond.
this isn't a debt per se. This is just
It's
a
a
tab.
tab.
It's debt adjacent.
The problem was he just wasn't looking at the situation correct. Just needed to call it a tab.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe
Can I
fine.
start a tab and then start one with all those people
Yeah,
instead
don't
of telling
go
them
through-
you'll pay them back? Just
Yeah.
start a bunch of different tabs.
Right. Don't go through the
like getting a bunch of credit cards.
yeah. Don't go through all of the I'm
Without
so down
the
on my
negative
luck.
credit.
Like whatever. Just lead with it. Just be like, hey man, I'd like to start a tab with you.
And you know what? I bet Trainwrecks would be like, sure, man.
Yeah, like you've been watching my stream for a long time, and I got to tell you, like I'm not very liquid right now. I'm gonna need to start a tab.
Don't give people any ideas, man. Fuck.
At least there wouldn't be any secrets, man. It would just be out there. It'd be like, hey man, this guy started a tab with me.
We never closed it out.
Right, he hasn't.
He's still at the bar.
Tab
Yeah.
hasn't been closed.
We
It's
gotta
been
get
6
him washing
months.
dishes.
It's been 6 months. This man is drunk as fuck, and he owes me 5 figures. Like we gotta put an end to this sooner than later.
5.
Well, depends on how big your tab is.
It could be more.
When you're the bank, you have to put hard numbers on what the cap is. you know?
how much can the tab take?
Right, like you can't just you can't give out a credit card and say like, all right, $1,500 cap, and then let them just spend $5,000.
Well,
That's not how that
apparently
works.
You can. There's something that people will do where they'll loan people money and then write it off on their taxes.
Really?
Yeah. So you might want to look into this.
Yeah, I didn't
tab,
do it.
but-
Well, we're even.
But there's
Well,
there's
imagine
something
that.
with like where they'll take a loan. I don't know how it was. Don't quote me on it, but it was in reference to this where the streamer was kind of educating on how he should have gone about it.
Right.
And he was saying
like,
that
here's
people
your security.
will loan out because the loans are tax deductible.
Yeah. It's like, here's your security. If I never pay you back, it's okay. It's a tax write-off.
Right.
It also could 100x. But
I'll
it's up
look
to
into
you.
that for you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Thanks.
there you
I would
go.
appreciate that,
No, bro.
Conrad.
Maybe you'll increase your credit line.
Ah, I like this. All I need is for fucking eat the fucking boom. That
it's
gonna
increases
be a
my
while.
credit line.
Yeah,
instantly.
that's all you
Gonna
need.
be a
Keep
while.
fucking holding your breath, buddy. We liquidated that a long time ago.
That ape is gone.
That ape is long gone, man.
He's
We
waiting
sold
for
it.
critters to move.
He's waiting for his critters.
When critters.
When is UST gonna get its uprise again?
Luna.
I'm not part of this.
Luna to the moon, baby. Let's go. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this discussion on all things Twitch, YouTube, gambling, scammy related. We are going to be back again tomorrow, 1 p.m., same time. I think we're going to keep 1 p.m. all week. Again, I won't be here this Friday. I'm going to be heading to Live at the Bike again to play what is being labeled as an open field game. I don't know what the fuck that means. There's going to be 50, 100, and people are going to be playing. So I'm in. Be sure to check out Poker Out Loud, as we mentioned. Be sure to check out BetMGM. You can view their entire schedule at betmgm.com. Shout out to them for sponsoring us for the week. We really appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, comment below. Let us know who's got a tab with you. How much have you let them get up to? Is there a sunken cost fallacy in the tab where you said you were going to cut them off at $100 and now they're up to $2,000?
Is it a tax write-off?
Right. Is it a tax write-off?
Is it called scambling?
Is it called scambling? I don't know. Do you play slots? Let us know. Yes, please like, subscribe. Also, let Christian know. Everybody call him out in the chat.
Yeah. And on Twitter,
Get his ass
tweet
here.
at him and
Shame
make
him.
Twitters about him.
Shame this man. Like, not only did he not call in when he had the opportunity to do so every fucking day that he was home with
Correct.
DR
Now he's here.
Mamacita,
In the chat.
but now he's just like here.
And then he tells us, I'll be back Monday. Maybe even could do tonight if you guys do a night podcast. That was on Friday.
I think he just didn't want to wear the chin the pin shirt. I think that's what it was.
That probably is true. we really need to lean into the chin the pin. First thing I'm gonna do when I see him is just like bop him in the middle of his forehead and see if he wobbles. Wobble.
Oh my
Shake
God,
it, shake it.
that's disturbing.
All right.
All right, guys, let's get rapid.
That was cringe, Habibi.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Dr. Z.
Peace.